Welcome back to Kingsclear. In this October review, we'll be discussing how we got from this to looking and sounding like this. I've also done some scenery work, including some details within the actual motive power depot, some signaling semaphore cabling, and as you can see, we've now got the Heljan Railcar. I'll go through that in a little bit more detail. But first, a couple of shout outs. Dylan at Dillington, mate, the 009 stuff is looking really good, mate, so keep it up. The only issue is that the kiosk has reported they're running short of some custard, some of that famous Dillington custard of yours, so we do need a new delivery. Also, my mate Charlie, I think I've found your dad Gilbert. He appears to be at the end of the line, taking some end of the platform, sorry, taking some photographs. So if you need to know where he is, there he is. And also in the next clip is some new additions to the staff on the railway. Also a big shout out to our new signaller, Richard from Hereford box, just been transferred over to the box here at Kingsclear. Brought obviously his normal habits of just standing around having a cup of tea. But anyway, hope you're well, Richard. Speak to you soon, mate. So as you saw from the opening sequence, the GWR Railcar, it's nice, not a bad little runner. And what I've done is this has now got the YouTube sound in it. So I actually swapped this out of the parcel car, and the parcel car has now got the Lego Man Biffo one. So what I did with this, I painted all the interior to something a little bit realistic. After a little bit of consultation with the internet and some books, I chose on a red colour. And also, as you can see, passengers were added. And again, these are the Model U passengers. Really good. In fact, I think I might just do a whole episode on Model U, because I think I've got pretty much everything in their range. But yeah, as I say, the actual the vehicle itself is not a bad runner. Has a little bit of a noise, which is a bit annoying a couple of times, but generally okay. Fits in roughly okay with the time span, and again, it gives us that opportunity to run slightly different times, whether it be a bit earlier in the decade or a little bit later. And as I say, just supplements the rolling stock which we've got. So one of the other things what I've been trying to do, and I'm not sure how well the video is picking this up, is to show obviously water and puddles in around the yard, which you'd normally get. So I'm not sure how well that's been picked up, but I'm sure you can see a bit of reflection there. And I achieved that using this AK puddles and the water effect. So basically the water effect goes in and around the area where the puddles are, just to show that area a little bit damp, and then the puddles in effect will stand out a bit better. So as I say, I'm not sure how well that's come out on the TV, but yeah, it's looking quite good. And I think it's just making sure that you put enough to represent the puddles, but you don't in effect overdo it so it looks like a lake. It's not quite achieved what I was looking for, but it's getting there. And I think with a little bit of extra work on that, that'll look quite good. I might do a little bit more in the yard. And again, when I do the long sidings, reception roads, I'll pick up a couple of areas in there. And then when we go into the engineers area as well, I'll do a bit more there. And I've just done a little bit here as a trial, so I think it's there or thereabouts. I think you can just see a bit of a reflection there of that puddle effect. As we move now into doing some more of the finer details, one of the things I've been looking at doing is obviously putting up the troughing routes that I've discussed before, but also putting some semaphore signaling. So cables, rods, pulleys, etc. So what I've been using is the West Hill Wagon Works semaphore signaling cables and posts. Basically it's a little kit, And as you can see, there's the post, which in this regard I've painted black, but sometimes these were in concrete and various other types of materials to hold the small pulleys there, which you can see, which I've painted in a silver colour. The kit comes with a spacer and some wire. So I've done one small bit to see how it went, and to be honest with you, a bit fiddly, but went really well. So if I just move over, this is the signal base, where the signal box is. And you may be able to pick up the wire, very fine there. Should be a little bit clearer there. Up to the pulley, which hopefully you can see there. And then the wire goes up to the posts, all the way along, down to that last one there. And then what I'll do is I haven't actually tied that into the signal yet, but I just thought I'd do that as a trial. So yeah, it's really, really difficult to see, and you really would need to look for it. But when you look at this distance, most probably you can't see the wire, but I can. But yeah, it's actually gone quite well. I think I'll do this for this semaphore. I can run up to that semaphore, and I've got obviously all of the ground signals, which I'll try and pick up. So yeah, I think it went quite well for this small little trial bit. I think the hardest point was really in the fact that because I'd ballasted all the track up, it was a case of digging all the track out, all the ballast out of the track, that was, to get that wire to go in nicely. So again, I think forward planning and thinking a little bit better of how I was going to do this. And originally, I most probably would have left the area clear of ballast. But yeah, worked well. I know there are various other companies that provide these, and again, with the rodding that I'm going to be doing as well, should bring the whole area to life. So a new addition to the layout over the past couple of weeks has been this Bachmann WD austerity loco. I've always liked this loco, just the ruggedness of it. It's not as aesthetically looking as some of the Great Western locos. You can see it's a workhorse. This has had the Bachmann factory weathering, which is a bit blotchy, to be honest with you. So I will be toning that down, and I'll also be renumbering it. It's going to be 9355, which was a loco that was stabled in the Southall Yard during the early 60s. So as you can see, it's on the DC test track at the moment, just doing its run-ins, and it will have a U-Choose sound file fitted to it in the tender, and hopefully as long as I can get the chip and obviously get it fitted, may be able to get it out running on the line before obviously this update goes out. So yeah, did have it running obviously a minute ago, but the voiceover was lost with the background noise of it running, and especially when it's up on those jigs, it is a little bit noisier than it is if it's running on the line itself. Okay, so now we've run this loco in on DC, we're comfortable and happy that the actual loco is running well, then we can actually start the process of fitting the sound decoder. Now this is actually quite an easy fit, to be honest with you. 21 pin, quite a large speaker because it's going into the tender. I have fitted sound decoders to the actual interior of the locos and hardwired those in, which has been a bit problematic trying to get the space, but this one should be quite an easy one. So in regards to tools, obviously standard jewellery type screwdrivers, tweezers, but the most important thing is just some type of container. I just use one of these Oxford model containers for all the screws and the little bits and pieces. The last thing you want to do is to drop those. So as you can see, I've removed the tender from the actual loco. You can just see there the small receiving socket for that, and that frees up that. So in effect, the loco now can just be put to one side. As I say, we're just concentrating on the tender. Okay, with the 3 screws removed a little bit of jiggery pokery, we've removed it. So as you can see, you've got the blanking paint there, which we need to remove, and there's the additional weights, which obviously also need to be removed to fit the larger speaker in. The other thing we need to do is cut a small hole in the in this tender, somewhere about there-ish, to allow the speaker to fit in nicely, and we'll make that area good. And then obviously use real coal to obviously mask any holes that we produce. Okay, so as you can see, I've moved the surround, and again, you can use that surround with a fitted speaker if you so wish. I always try to look at what space I've got and maximise the space to get the biggest speaker that one can fit into the to the loco. Oh, bit of finger there, apologies. And now it's just a case of literally just putting the speaker, offering it up, and looking at where it needs to be cut. So I've got a good idea where it needs to be cut, because I've been looking at some of the YouTube website fitting instructions, but obviously you're always best to make sure you do it yourself, to make sure that you do the cuts. And obviously don't forget the decoder's got to go on there as well, so I'll offer that up as well to make sure that my spacings are correct. So as you can see, with the decoder now in place, that has pushed back the speaker slightly from where it was. The main key for that is that as long as there's enough space between the decoder and the supporting bracket or supporting part of the tender screw, so it just gives you how much space we've got to play with. So more than likely I will move it slightly away, so it's not necessarily touching or right on the decoder like that, to give it a little bit of space. And that gives me the idea now, where do I need to cut into the actual tender to make sure this fits. Okay, so that's the whole cut now. Using a Dremel type of rotary cutter, I cut the basic area shy of what it needed to be, and then I obviously use things like sharp scalpels and files to take it where it wants to be. You've got to be very careful when using rotary Dremel type saws, especially on things like locos, because one slip and you can make a bit of a disaster, and that's the last thing you want to do. So use it sparingly, get the majority with it, and then obviously finished off with scalpels and files as such. So just a little bit more cleaning up to do then. I've tried that now with the speaker, and that's good, and I've also got a good area now to key in, and I think I'll put a bit of plasticard or something similar over the top of that. Make sure that obviously all the gaps are thoroughly sealed, and then once the loco's been weathered, I will then add real coal into that area, and you will not even notice it was there. Okay, so for the part now that some people love and some people hate, which is the soldering, for this one I've just trimmed the length of the stay alive. This is the stay alive that comes with this decoder. If I find that the stay alive is not giving me the power, obviously I can just chop that one out and put a different one in at a later stage, but I'm going to stay with that one for the time being. And in regards of the actual speaker, I just soldered onto the two tabs, which you can see there. Okay, so that's it all done now. The speaker and some of the wires have got some black tack just holding them down into position. I've already trial fitted the tender body onto this, and it's fine, no problems at all. The speaker cable, as you can imagine, is not great, but to be honest, if I cut it to the length that it would have disappeared, then I would have had an issue getting it over the top of the decoder. So unfortunately, that's the way it is. I could have reversed the speaker, but then that would have put it into conflict with that end post there. So I've left it like that at the moment. It's obviously fully insulated. I have checked that the wires to make sure that there's no nicks or anything like that. It looks okay at the moment. So now it's just a case of putting it back onto the loco and getting it to work. Okay, so the loco's now sat on the program track. I've gone onto the Z21 app, which is what I use on program track. I've read the CV, it came up as free, which is the factory setting, which is good. I've now set that to CV55 address, which is what this loco is going to be numbered as, and we're good to go. All we need to do now is just start putting the functions in, and we can start testing it. So there we go. It's just done a quick lap of Kingsclear. Obviously had to make that noise as I was talking. So I'm comfortable with that now. Everything seems to be working very well. Just a case now of putting back on the tender itself. As I say, this one's going to be renumbered, and also I'm going to do a bit of weathering on that, but whether I get that done straight away, I'm not entirely sure at the moment. So there she is, all done. As I say, now for the renumbering, weathering, got to add the crew, obviously sort out the bunker. But as I say, for this one, I used the U-Choose sound file. There are obviously lots of different sound files you can use. I think it's personal preference and taste, whichever one you use and whichever one you like, that's good. But I hope this has been enlightening and enjoying for you. As I say, it's been, what, I don't know, an hour and a half maybe. And as I say, no real major issues there. I have had lots of issues in the past when putting chips in, and it can be quite a costly exercise, but I think just taking your time, making sure you've got a nice clean workspace and stuff like that is paramount, and just obviously like following as many instructions as you can get your hands on. But yeah, so let's see this one running, and yep, hope you've enjoyed it. Okay, so with the fill a bit of plastic card in there now, as you can see, and then I'll put some filler in there just to seal the holes up. I then applied some shot weight, that's just to replicate some of the weight that was removed when I took the Bachmann weight out. That's now glued in, and the next thing we're going to do is spray it. But to be honest with you, with the actual weight of the speaker and obviously the decoder, etc., I think we're actually got it slightly heavier now than what it was, so that's all good. So as I say, so I'm just going to go and give it a spray now, and then we can do all the weathering. Once all the weathering's completed, add the coal load to obviously cover up those areas that you can see there, and yeah, we're good to go. So that's the weathering now done. As I say, so what I've literally done here is just reduce down the Bachmann weathering, renumbered as you can see there, and obviously the tender is now ready for coal. I'll just let this dry off, and again, as I say about weathering, you don't have to plaster a loco to make it weathered. It's just subtle changes. One thing that I have done is I've basically used a different black where the funnel comes up, so basically the front of the boiler, obviously change the number of the front there as well, and that just gives that little bit of difference. You hardly notice it, but it's good, it's there. And then just picked up areas of little bits of rust here and there. Crew are ready to go in. I'll put those in a minute, and I'm just about to put the coal in now. So just let this dry a little bit and get back to you. So we've now put the Model U drivers in. In fact, to be honest with you, all my locos have got Model U drivers. They can be a bit pricey, but they are very, very good. And what I use is actually my son's paints that he uses for his Warhammer. And to be honest, it actually comes out quite well. But what you do is obviously just weather those down. So they're now in position, and I've also put the coal in, so that's now drying, and then put it all back together again. So all done. I hope you noticed I've painted up the buffer shanks as well. I don't think they're called shanks, I don't know, but anyway, the buffer things, they come up silver. Still letting the glue dry in the coal, but yeah, all done. Also added a little bit of additional weathering with some other products, showing a bit of like water streaking as well.
especially up around the filler cap there. I did actually have some of the Weathering Colours paint left over, so I decided to have a go at one of the Accurate Scale 37s. Still need to put the frost grille on, but as I say, again, not overdone it. I think that looks there or thereabouts. It's not too bad. But as I say, never use black. Always use various shades of greys, even around the exhaust ports. It's never jet black. It's always like a dark, very dark greyish colour. But as I say, that seems to have come up quite well. And yeah. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed that, and maybe you can take some inspiration about doing your own weathering. As I say, I think I've said this before, just get a loco that you're not too worried about, or a wagon, and just practice, lots and lots of practice, and then you'll get there, and then you can do it yourself. And again, if you can, try and get a photograph of the vehicle, whether that be a carriage or a coach or a loco, and that gives you a much better guide of where to apply the weathering techniques, whether that be the white or the rust or something like that. Or if you're looking at old steam engines like I do, generally they're just really in a very drab place anyway. But again, when you're looking at locos, they do go through the carriage washes, so they are generally a lot cleaner on the sides, and you get a lot of build up of the weathering at the ends, for example, and on the undercarriage or the underframe. Anyway, let's get this running now, and that'll be good. So once I completed the 37, I just wanted to see the difference between the weathered 37 and the in effect pristine Accurate Scale 37, and so I put them both together, and as you can see, massive difference, massive difference. I've also decided that this one will not have the frost grille that the 37s had in the early days, but this one will have it, just to give it a little bit of difference. I know that this is, obviously this is the centre code one, and that's the split head codes, but I just thought I'd keep this one as it is, assuming it had a bit of a service and they forgot to put it back on, whereas this one will have it. Okay, so that's it for the October review. For those that are still watching, well done. Thank you very much for your time and patience. Really appreciate it. For those that haven't subscribed, please do. It's a great way of obviously making sure that you keep up with all the content here from Kings Clere Model Railway. Obviously likes and comments are more than appreciated. Any questions whatsoever, just chuck them our way. More than happy to have a look and help. If there's anything you've got questions with or any comments, I'd just really appreciate it. So in regards of the November update, I'm not entirely sure what to do. I know that we've got a few new deliveries coming in, so you'll see those when they come in. Apart from that, I think I really do need to get on with that troughing. It's starting to get a bit annoying now that I haven't actually done that. I'm talking about signaling type of issues. Let's see how Richard's doing. Yep, he's having another cup of tea. So as I say, old habits just come from Hereford all the way down to Kingsclear anyway. So see you at November review, and have a good few weeks.